Hey, Free Mind, you crazy for this. Soulful. It's like our responsibility to make us feel something. You know, to make people feel what we feeling. Hey, yo.
Regie here, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. Last week, I released a video in which I spoke about a possible scam that was taking place on the internet. And as a result of that video coming out, some additional things have made their way to me that are not related to that situation, a completely separate situation that I want to make the community aware of. Now, what I will ask you to do is to take some time to watch the whole video. I will endeavor to make this video only as long as it needs to be. And I say this because with the previous video, people watched part of it, jumped to some conclusions, and told me some things that I should do that were contained in the video. They just did not watch the whole thing. So I will ask you to take the time to watch this video in its entirety. So what happened as a result of that video from last week coming out is that some people looked at it, some people also brought some things to my attention related to that situation and not related to that situation. There was a guy by the name of Chris that reached out to me to make me aware of the fact that somebody on eBay was essentially producing fake comics on newspaper print. Now, when you hear that, that is immediately concerning when you hear fake comic newspaper print. Chris sent me a couple of screen grabs. He sent me a link to go to the eBay store. I took a look at it. Now, here's the thing. I do not believe that the seller is a bad agent. I do not believe the seller is intentionally trying to run a scam, but with what he is producing, it might put other people in a position to run a scam. And I want to show you what I found. I want to more importantly show you my conversation with this guy, how I found out where he was sourcing some of his materials. And I'm not going to give you all the details of some of that because that just invites more people to do just bad stuff. But I will walk you through everything, including the conversation and the examples that were sent over to me for some really expensive Silver Age comics. I will tell you a lot of it was honestly shocking. Before I get to that, I do want to back up just a second to talk about my buddy, Just Pele, who first made me aware on the Twitters of the fact that fake comics were a real thing. I was not aware of this, but about 6 or 8 months ago, I want to say Just Pele put out a post that I think featured Fantastic 448, and it was a beautiful copy that was a fake. And so I did not know at the time what the source of this fake comic was, but potentially it was from maybe a person like the one that I spoke with just earlier today. So without any further ado, let me start to share with you some of what I learned. Now, here's the thing. This is a thing that I'm recording essentially live, so it will not be as crisp as a truly pre-recorded video in which I can edit things down. We will not be doing that. We're gonna film this thing and we're gonna release it. So you're gonna have to maybe bear with me just a little bit. So the first thing that I want to show you is my initial communication with this seller. And you can see here that I sent a message to him that says, a friend sent me a link to your store earlier, and I was able to see a copy of Hulk #1. This is the real Hulk #1, but it's no longer posted. Is this item still available or no? And so this person essentially had 2 comics up on their page when Chris messaged me. One of them was Hulk 1. I cannot remember what the other was. When I went back to look at the page, a little bit later after Chris's initial message to me, those books were no longer there. And so I was trying to inquire the status of them. He says, hello, friend. It was an order from another customer and he already bought it, but I can make another one for you. Want me to create an order? Thanks. And what you'll notice here, of course, is I've blacked out or blanked out this person's name because I did not want to disclose who this person was. Because again, I don't think that they're necessarily doing something that is evil, right? But you can see here that they've had a lot of transactions, 339 transactions. And when you look at his store, it is essentially only for one thing. It is for the recreation of comics on newspaper print. That is it. So we're basically talking about potentially 300 plus fake comics that are out there in the world. And I'm using the term fake reproduction. That may be a better way to describe it. You can also see here that it says that there's a translation service that is built in, because if you look at the very bottom, this person is actually located in Brazil. When I first received the link, I thought that they were Canadian, but turns out that they are located in Brazil. They have been a member since 2017, and their feedback is 100%. So my assumption here is that the people that are buying these things know exactly what it is that they are actually buying from this individual, because he's essentially disclosing a lot of this stuff. So let me share with you my second exchange with him. Let me see if I can get this right. See if I can find it. I think this is the one. Here is the second communication. And it says, I said here after his initial response, I says, okay, I didn't really have a chance to look closely at the pictures of the Hulk one. Is it possible to see photos of the books? I like to see the front, back, and the inside if possible. I think the post mentioned that they were printed on newspaper paper. Is that correct? So the person gets back to me, and you can see here at the very top, it says both in two places. Yes, in newspaper. He then sent me 3 images of Hulk #1, and I want to show you what those look like right now. So let me stop sharing that, and I want to share with you the 3 images. And again, you'll have to bear with me as I toggle between these various photos. Let's see if I can get it correct. Here is the cover. This is the cover of the Hulk one, and it's a nice looking cover. It is a nice looking cover, no doubt about it. The purples are purple, the grays are grays, the yellows are crisp. And if you zoom in on this thing, what you can actually see is that you have a little bit of damage up here at the top, a little bit of a miscut there, but you can see that this is not a perfect comic. You can see what appears to be some spine ticks going down the side, right? I mean, again, nice looking book, but it is not a perfect book. Okay, so that's the cover. So let me stop sharing that one, and let's take a look at the next image that was sent over. He basically sent me the Hulk from the side. And there's some important things to notice here. You can see again that what appears to be some spine ticks. The staples look pretty good. I did not compare these staples, for example, to my copy of Hulk 1 to see how they compare. But you notice that the paper is just a little wavy, or at least it appears that the paper is a little wavy, not perfect paper that you would expect. And let me show you one last photo before we move on with my conversation with this gentleman. This is, let's see if we can get this one correct. This is the inside spread. This is the inside spread that was provided to me of this recreation. And I want to just call your attention to a few things. You can see here down at the bottom, it essentially, you can see some discoloration where the outer edges are definitely whiter than the inner portion of the page. You can see it really clearly over on this side where it's definitely dark. And then there's, the whiter edge over here. There is a distinctive mark here in the very middle of this panel right there. You can see that. And then there's another distinctive mark in this upper right-hand corner, right? If you look right up in this upper right-hand corner, it almost looks like a paper fold of some sort. So as I looked at these images, I had a feeling potentially of where these pages could have come from, because it's probably unlikely that this person has a real Hulk 1 and a real copy of all these books in order to make it. So you have to go to, there must be some source out there that this person is tapping into. A few years ago, I became aware of a website that actually had comics available for people to read for free. And I will not tell you what that website is. I will not tell you that. But I went to that website to see whether this person was using images from that website. And so let me share that with you right now. Hopefully I will be able to get this one correct. I want to show you the second page first. No, let's do the first page. This is the left panel. This is the left panel that I pulled down specifically from that website. And what you will notice here in this middle panel, it is a very similar distinguishing mark to the one that we just looked at a few moments ago. You'll also notice that down at the bottom, this page is a little dark around the edges of this thing, little dark, right? You guys know that if you photocopy something, oftentimes the photocopy will be a little bit darker than the original. But what I did is I literally looked at several different points on this page and I compared them to what this guy had sent me, and they appear to match up. They appear to match up. But let's go to the second page, because it's the second page that I think is even more telling. And let me see if I can find that one. Here is the ad. Here is the ad. And what you'll notice in this upper right left-hand corner is that paper folds. It is that paper fold that we saw on his copy. It appears to be here as well. You can also see a little bit of a light edge around here with some darkness as you get closer to the ad. Again, let me see if I can toggle this. What you're looking at right now is the online source. This is the online source, right? Let me show you one more time what this guy sent me. This is the inside. Here's the inside of what he sent me. In this upper right hand or upper left hand corner, again, you can see that paper folds. Down in this corner, you can see the edge of that paper. Maybe he, cut this edge over here, but it's still dark at the very bottom of this thing, between the left and the right and the bottom and the top. You can see that there's, so again, I feel like I know where these images are actually coming from. It's coming from this online source. What I don't know is where he is getting his essentially blank pages from, this blank newspaper print. He has to have a source for that in order to produce this thing. So let me go to, I think it's my third exchange with this gentleman. And let me see if I can find that here. The third exchange is right here. I think this is it. My comment back to him after looking at the Hulk one, I said, wow, that looks so real. The ad even looks like the real one. Love it. Do you have the ability to make a Fantastic Four 1 or an ASM 1? Have you done these before? Kind of fishing just a little bit. I noticed on the cover of the Hulk 1 that there were some spine ticks and the paper was a little wrinkled. Pardon my my spelling there. Did you do that by customer request? So again, kind of fishing to see whether he is aging these comics or whether it was being done by the request of a customer. And before I forget, how much were these? Again, because his original ad was actually taken down. So he actually responds to me and he sends me several images of some additional comics. And so I want to show you those. So let's do that right now. Let me show you what those comics look like. And I realize I may have left out part of the conversation, but I should be able to fill in the blank. But he then sent me several images. Let me see if I can find it. He sent me, as you all saw, AF-15, a couple of examples of that. One of them was just a straight recreation of AF-15. The second that he sent was an aged AF-15. And this is a little shocking. When you look at this thing, he shows me the aged version of AF-15. And that indeed looks like a pretty aged comic, at least when you look at it. Now, when you get it, how does it look? Does it look like it's real? From this photo, it looks real, but when you know how it is, when you get something in your actual hand, you can see that it's a photocopy. I don't know. I don't know that, right? But let me show you this next image. And again, we are doing this using flat images without actually having product in hand. But this next image, this is the inside of the AF-15. This is the inside of the aged AF-15. And you can see here that this is pretty interesting, right? You can see that this appears to be real wrinkles, a real tear, a real foxing around the edge. You can see some foxing and some browning and some wrinkling of the pages on the right-hand side. The staples are even slightly pulled. There's a little bit of some tearing around the staple. I mean, this is pretty involved. This is pretty involved. And I don't know if I have the other communication, but he indicated that the regular production version was $50, but an aged comic was actually $500. Says it was $500 to actually produce something that is a little more, I guess, period authentic. And let me see if I can, let me see if I do have that image. Let's see, or that screenshot. And again, I took these screenshots and then I had to white out his name and all that kind of stuff because again, I don't know if this guy is up to any bad stuff. Okay, here we go. So his response to me after I said, "Wow, these look real," he says, "The wrinkles are not real. They are from the scanned images. And yes, I do all the Marvel and DC comics, which goes back to my previous message about Fantastic Four 1 and ASM 1. He says, those are $50 each. But if you're going to buy more, I'll do it for $40 plus $10 shipping. He says, I also make aged comics, but this is very expensive, $500 each. And he says, I don't like to do it because it looks like the real one. This could be a problem. I sent pictures of the normal ones and a picture of the age one for you to enjoy. If you want an age comic, you have to promise not to resell it. And my response was, I think this is it. Thanks for getting back to me. That age comic looks real. I can see why that might be a problem. A dishonest person could do a lot with that. His response was, unfortunately, this can happen. And again, English is not his first language, and I have some errors in mine, so we can't point too many fingers at stuff. But again, what we have essentially done is had an exchange with a guy that has the ability and the talent to reproduce and access to materials to reproduce comics and to also age them so that they look kind of sort of like the real thing. But what I noticed there in the last little bit of the exchange there is that he acknowledges that this is problematic. He acknowledges that this could be a risky thing. And he's basically like, hey, I'll do it. It's going to be expensive because I guess his time is involved. There's more material, but he's saying, look, you got to promise me you're not going to sell this. And again, this is why I cautioned at the beginning to watch the whole thing. And that's also why I said that I wasn't going to disclose who this person was, because it isn't clear to me whether he is purposefully trying to commit some type of fraud. And I say that because on his page, he discloses that these are reproductions that they are, yes, on newspaper print, but as we go through the exchange, he's basically like, look, I don't want to weather these, but if you want them, I'll do it, but you can't sell it, because he recognizes that this could be used for some bad purposes. My assumption also is that he is using today's staples and not some different type of staples that may have come from an older book in an attempt to maybe circumvent some inspection by someone looking at the age of the staple and recognizing it's a modern staple versus a staple from 1960 something or another. But you know, the thing is that what he is doing could potentially be used by some bad actors out there to take advantage of people. And again, that is why I wanted to do this video, and I wanted to show you all of this stuff so that you can have some awareness. And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is in terms of being able to protect yourself from some of this stuff, other than to ask as many questions as possible, to do your research on who you're buying from. Because again, I don't think that you would buy from this guy thinking that it was a real thing. But the next person, the 339 or so of these that have already been bought could be out there, and anybody could be doing some crazy stuff with this in order to take advantage of the comic book community. So it is in that spirit that I wanted to create this video. I wanted to share it with you to bring some awareness. Shout out to Chris for making me aware of this. I absolutely appreciate it. And again, we have to be on guard. We have to protect one another, and we have to protect our pocketbooks, because the comic book hobby right now is a wonderful target for people trying to take advantage of us. So be on guard. With that said, I'm going to wrap this video up. I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch. I hope that you enjoyed it, maybe even learned something a little from it. And if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so on Instagram at Regie Collects. Take care.